Welcome to the Heroes of Fantasy Football podcast with your hosts, Matt High, Richie Kopech, and Joe Capozzi. Welcome to the lair. And welcome back to another episode of the Heroes of Fantasy Football podcast. I'm your host, Matt High, joined tonight by Joe and Rich. Joe, we missed you on last night's episode. How you doing tonight?
I didn't miss it. I didn't want to talk about week one at all. It didn't even happen in my head. So we're on to week two.
It was a practice round, right? It was like when we do golf.
I
First hole, practice.
I lost in every single league. I lost J.K. Dobbins, who I just traded for. And the only league I didn't lose in, but because Richie lost in it, was our guillotine league. So it was a terrible week one. Already forgot about it. Let's talk about week two.
Well said. Well said. Rich, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm just as good as Joe over here. I mean, you heard me complain last night. I'm literally a sliver underneath of Joe, actually. I also lost Dobbins in a league, so I feel his pain there. And just a little bit underneath him because, yes, I did get the lowest score in the Guillotine League this year, causing me to get the blade, and I'm out. So, yeah, hopefully, on to better things this week, please.
It's going to be another whirlwind. I'm just excited. I'm glad football's back. So let's dive right in. We got a quick question here tonight. Rich, I'll go to you first. What's a storyline that happened in week one that you want to pay attention to, or what's something you want to look at to affirm what you think or change your opinion on one of these players? So who you got?
Well, for me, it's going to be Anthony Richardson. Very electric player, rookie quarterback, I should say, for the Indianapolis Colts. Came out and just did what we thought he was going to do. Just be an athletic freak, rush, 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 run through people. Hard to take down that big of a man, and very reminiscent of Cam Newton. And it was very nice to see, and I just kind of want to know if this is something that is going to be consistent. I mean, he did get banged up a little bit at the end there, so injuries are a big concern with Russian quarterbacks. So it's something that I just want to know, like, can we have another good quarterback to add to our fantasy drafts, or is this just a mirage?
Mirage.
I'm ready. I'm ready. For me, I want to watch and see the involvement of Antonio Gibson. For those of you who have been listening for a little bit, know that I've been on the Antonio Gibson train. One of my bold predictions was he will finish as a top 24 running back at the end of the season. And we're off to a wonderful, wonderful start with a whopping 0.4 points. So we're on the way. It's coming. I just want to see. Last week was one of those really weird weeks. Fumbled, wasn't really used a lot. Was thrown in the doghouse. I want to see if that was just punishment for that game because they almost lost that game, and it was a little scary for a little bit because Cardinals are not that great, and they almost took down the Commanders. So I just want to see, is that the norm, or can this team right the ship and utilize him in the way we've been waiting for the past, seems like, decade? And he's only been in the league for a couple of years. So that's the one I want to watch. What about you, Joe?
For this season, and I'm very invested in it, is I want to see Lamar Jackson. Are you going to actually put fantasy points up for my team, or are you going to just stand on the field? I know before the season started, they said he's going to be throwing more. I was like, okay, cool. I'll take throwing touchdowns. He's thrown for 0 touchdowns. He handed the ball off and someone ran it in every single time. I want to see more involvement in the passing game like they promised me before the season. And I need some points, bud. If you're listening, need some points.
Shout out to Lamar Jackson. But
Avid listener of the show.
Yes. It's that was also like it was a weird game. I mean, the Dobbins thing, running backs getting all the looks and everything. It without Andrews, Zay Flowers looks like the guy, but outside of that, last week just wasn't really there. So with that being said, why don't we dive into the news? Because we have some news that will hopefully help that for you, Joe. All right. So, first bit of news here we got Kenny Gainwell has been declared out for week 2. So, he will not be playing in Thursday Night Football against the Minnesota Vikings. Uh, Now it's up to Rashad Penny, DeAndre Swift, Boston Scott. I don't know who's going to be the lead carry there, lead running back, but I don't really know if we care. I don't know if you guys think anything different, but it's not one of those where I'd rather wait and watch what happens versus make rash decisions and thrust one of them in my lineup and just watch it be the other guy. So, do you guys have any? Are you willing to start a Eagles running back this week or no?
No.
Um, I mean, just I was saying other than DeAndre Swift or all like any isn't all any.
Any of them?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't mind starting DeAndre Swift with Kenny Gainwell being out. You know, I mean, does
Nothing
the
more than a
matchup really?
flex.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, it should be a better week for DeAndre Swift. So, yeah, yeah, I'm all right with it.
I mean, anything is better than last week, so we'll see.
Yeah,
But all right, now some tight end news. Kelsey and Andrews are back to limited practices. It's looking better to suit up this weekend. Hopefully that happens because I know that was a major surprise to all of us going into week 1. It started before week 1 even happened, and we're all like, "Great, this is how it's going to be this year." Cool. I thought 2023 was supposed to be better, but looks like they're going to suit up. Hopefully they do. I mean, Lamar will get a big bump if Andrews comes back because Isaiah likely did not do anything last week, and it was very very sad. So
it was very sad. Absolutely,
yeah,
I made the wrong decision, and I went that way. Pivoted off from Mark Andrews, went to his backup. It didn't work out, but it has worked out in the past. So, I mean, it's not a bad move overall.
yeah, process was there, result was not. But we got Deontay Johnson could miss up to 4 weeks with a hamstring injury. I have a feeling I'm waiting for them to go on IR tomorrow. It just makes sense. 4 week injury, don't rush him back. And if you have him, you want him to go on IR right now. One, because you can put him on the IR slot on your roster and pick up someone else in the meantime. But also that way they don't try to force him back early and then he has a higher chance of re-injuring that hamstring and then being out for a longer period of time. We've seen that in the past. I'd rather these guys take the time they need, heal up, rest, and then come back and be the studs you drafted them to be. We have Austin Eckler was not present today in practice. He's dealing with an ankle injury. Unsure if he's going to suit up. I have a feeling he's going to play through whatever injury. So for all the Joshua Kelly owners, it's still a good pick, but it just might not be one of these instant satisfaction type waiver picks. But Aaron Jones is questionable. They're waiting the entire week, so he could be a game time decision. So just kind of monitor his practices. If he's in full by Friday, I say fire him up. He's good to go. Um, Jerry Judy was apparently close to playing on Sunday, and so he could return this week. Are you playing Judy in a league if he's active this week or no?
I think if he's active, yeah, I would play Judy. I mean, who else is Russ going to throw the ball to there? I mean, you got Luke Musgrave out now, so you have to have Adam Troutman there, who looked okay, but he's obviously not the top tier talent that Judy is. So
I think you mean Dulcich, right? But yeah,
Greg
that was
Dulcich.
better. Yeah,
Greg Dolch is out, yeah,
yeah,
sorry, but
no problem.
still,
All right. What about you, Rich? Are you playing Judy week 1 coming off this injury?
Yeah, I mean, like Joe said, I mean, someone's got to catch the ball over there. Judy's a good player. I trust the injury, I guess, not being that bad if he was that close to playing last Sunday. So sure.
All righty. Zach Moss might be returning for the Colts. That would be interesting. And then also DJ Chark was spotted at practice. I don't think the report was that he was practicing, but he could be on his way back for the Panthers, who have a desperate need for wide receivers because last week was pretty bad. We had Jacoby Myers took that big hit, and he is still in the concussion protocol. I don't think he suits up. I mean, I think he has until Friday to clear it before he can play on Sunday, and I don't know if that's going to happen. Then, just like always, we have a couple veteran rest days. We got Devontae Adams was listed with a foot injury. DeAndre Hopkins is nursing an ankle injury, and Brandon Cooks was did not practice today, but it was not given what the ailment was. Uh, Coach just said he should be back. We're hoping he can play Sunday. So don't worry about those guys. You're going to see those every week. We're probably going to have a veteran list of guys that are just taking Wednesdays off because the long season they want to keep them fresh. So that is wraps up our news. We got a couple mailbag questions here from some people. So Joe, I'm going to let you take over for the first one. What's the first question here?
So this question comes from someone with the username that one guy, and he wants to know, should he trade Kyle Pitts in his dynasty football league? I'll let you guys answer first because I feel like I'm maybe a little partial to this question. So
I'm going to jump in here first, Rich, if you don't mind. Kyle Pitts is an enigma to me, where you watch him on the football field and you're like, he has the athletic profile to be one of these amazing tight ends that we've been waiting for since Kelsey and Andrews, and we were hoping a couple of these other guys are going to, take the mantle and take the baton in this relay race to find the top tight ends, and he just hasn't had it. So I do think you can buy low because I have a feeling the Falcons could move on from him. If it's Arthur Smith still as the coach, look, he's already come out and said he does not care about your fantasy league. He cares about the W's. And the method he has is kind of working to, I think, a lot of people's surprise. They can easily win this division, and you're going to get these guys. They don't throw the ball. So I think I would be willing to buy Kyle Pitts at somewhat of a discount in Dynasty, especially if you have one of these older tight ends. You might be able to get Pitts plus a couple things. You know, you're going to need Pitts straight up for something. I don't know what that would look like, but where do you stand on this, Rich?
I definitely would say that. I mean, I would think you're not going to get what you want if you're trading away Kyle Pitts, just for probably the draft capital it took to get him. Yeah, unless you traded for him, in previous years. But it is something to monitor, I guess, in a dynasty point of view, where it's good to get him now, I would say, with the chance that he could bloom into maybe like an Evan Ingram situation where it goes to a better system where hopefully he can thrive, and we see Evan Ingram doing good over there in Jacksonville. So maybe Pitts gets to go to a good team, a team that doesn't exactly have a tight end yet, like or could improve in their tight end position. And then next thing you know, we're looking at a way better situation and way more points out of Pitts, and that young of an age for how long the tight end lasts as far as like shelf life. I mean, could be a good chance to get him, I'd say. So I'd probably hold on to him. Or if you're trying to trade for him, yeah, you could probably trade for him right now and get him for lower than what he could be.
Let me give you a couple names. I'm on Keep Trade Cut right now, and I put Kyle Pitts up in the list here for the trade calculator. These are the names roughly valued around him: Devontae Adams, C.J. Stroud, Ken Walker, T.J. Hawkinson, and Christian Watson. Are you doing any of those? If you are the Pitts owner, are you taking any of those players over him?
if you're in a super flex league and you need a quarterback, I would probably go CJ Stroud. But Adams is coming towards the end of his career, so unless you're in like a win, if you need to win now, then sure Adams. But I'm holding Pitts. you're not going to get what you paid for him back right now, just purely based off of the situation he's in. I mean, if you look at some of the game footage from week 1, there was one time when they were near the end zone and he just cut. And he was wide open and he's waving his arms and didn't get the ball. So it's just the type of team he's on. And if he goes to any other team, I think he's going to be a fantastic fantasy asset.
Agreed. I think we're all on board with that. So hold Kyle Pitts if you can. But if you win now, like Joe said, make a move because his name still has value, even though he hasn't done pretty much anything since he's been in the league, except for that rookie year, which seems forever ago. Next question we got here: got DeAndre Swift versus the Minnesota Vikings or Cam Akers versus the Niners. For me, I'm 100% going Swift, even though I don't want to. Cam Akers, as we talked about last night with me and Rich, Cam Akers scares the bejesus out of me. He could be one of these guys. I mean, we saw it last year. He just left the team. That could be brewing again. So I'm out. I want nothing to do with Cam. I'll take Swift there. What do you got, Rich?
Nope, I agree with you too. I don't really like Cam Akers' situation right now. It's not looking good over there. 49ers defense scares me. I think it's more so just that, there's going to be just a better opportunity for Swift to fall into the end zone, I think here, with the Minnesota Vikings as opposed to Akers again with the Niners. So I'm on the Swift side.
We're making it unanimous, Joe, or are you going on the other side?
Yeah, no, it's definitely Swift. 49ers is a better defense, so of course that's consideration. And then you also have Kyron Williams that's taking touches from Cam Akers, whereas Swift is on the opposite end, and now what's his name's out,
Gainwell.
Gainwell's out. So instead of having people taking touches, he has a more opportunity for more touches. So it just makes sense in all regards.
All right, so the trifecta. Next question we have here is from Weber07. We have Mike Evans versus the Chicago Bears, or the opposite side of the ball, DJ Moore versus the Bucks. For me, it's DJ Moore because last week was frustrating, but I have a feeling this week is going to bounce back a little bit. They're not going to be able to do that again. At least I don't know if that's me 100% believing it or just trying to will it into existence because last week was a very poor showing. So, which side do you stand on, Joe?
I am a Mike Evans fan in this one. I've just always been I think Mike Evans is an underrated player. Um, he's shown us week 1, even with Baker Mayfield, that he didn't put up the most fantasy points in the league, but he put up a good amount. He scored a touchdown. He had 10 targets. You can't complain with a showing like that. So I think it's just safer than DJ Moore. DJ Moore is more of a boom bust for me, and where Mike Evans is a little more consistent with his points.
How about you, Rich?
Well, I guess if I got to split it one way or another, I think I lean the Mike Evans side in this one. The DJ Moore, Justin Fields connection, I think, is still growing. Not that, the Mayfield Evans connection is any better, but I just think Mike Evans is just more a tried and true talent and just always ends up in the end zone. So if we're leaning as to who might have the better chance at catching that touchdown, it's definitely going to be Evans. Ultimately, his points, I think, at the end of the day, he's going to have more. So I lean Evans.
All righty. So 1 for Moore, 2 for Evans. All right. Last question here is from Gobi. We have Joe Burrow or Jared Goff. Now, this one is mainly just because Joe Burrow just put up a giant stinker in week 1. So I get the question. For me, Joe Burrow, 100%. Don't get cute. Like we said yesterday too. Don't get cute. Play your studs. Joe Burrow's a stud. Week 1 was rough. Shake it off. Put him back in. What about you guys?
Yeah, it's tough. They're both good, and they both have pretty like not like terrible matchups. It's not like super top tier defenses. So I think I'd lean Joe Burrow just purely based off of he has, I think, more skill than Jared Goff, and he also has more offensive weapons on the passing game than Goff does.
Yeah. I think the Bengals Ravens game is going to be a way better game, more of a shootout, more points. Joe Burrow should bounce back just fine. So Joe Burrow for me.
Yep. Start Joe Cool. Don't think twice. Don't get cute. Start your studs. So, alrighty. Now to the main event here. We have our heroes and zeros. Let's start with the heroes. Let's start on a positive note. Will it into existence. Joe, who is your hero this week?
My first hero is Zach Moss. He's been practicing, so it looks like he's gone on train to start this week. Um, we saw week one. Evan Hull has that knee injury now. Deion Jackson fumbled twice, um, which is and did not look good. So the only other option there is Zach Moss. So I think he's going to have a great week. He's going against Houston, which is not a super good run defense, and I think you'll be very happy if you pick Zach Moss off the waiver wire. I'm actually actively trying to trade for him right now in our dynasty league, but I don't want to give up too much because if JT does come back week 4, I don't want to pay too much in a dynasty aspect. But for a redraft league, go ahead, pick him up, plug him in. He's going to be good this week, maybe the next 2 weeks, and then week 4, if JT gets traded, could be a good piece to keep. Or if he comes back, then you've got a good running back for 3 weeks off the waiver.
Not gonna lie, not where I thought you were gonna go, but I do see the path. I like it. Starting out bringing the heat. Rich, how do you follow up with that? Let's go.
Well, I just want to say I do like that very much. I have Zach Moss just kind of hanging in one of my leagues there. I could use some hope, so why not? Yeah, my hero, I will also kind of add a little bit of fuel to the fire. I'm gonna go with Daniel Jones versus the Arizona Cardinals this week. My pick really it's kind of a reboost, revitalization into having Daniel Jones as your quarterback. Uh, this is week one, or that was week one. That was the Dallas defense. It is a crazy defense that just overall, I think, surprised the Giants from the get-go, and from there it was just very hard to climb back out of that hole. I mean, the weather sucked. Everything about it was just, not what it should have been. So shaking that off and moving past that, we're looking at a different team this week. The Arizona Cardinals are not the Dallas Cowboys, most certainly not. They actually allow the most passing touchdowns and the ninth most passing yards since the start of last season. They're definitely on a downward spiral. They're in tanking mode. They're looking to get pieces in the draft. So with that, I mean, I expect them to kind of just let the Giants do whatever they want to do without very much of anything going on. Um, Daniel Jones, even though in that horrific game that he played, he did, however, still, get himself to about 42 rushing yards. So the guy still has the rushing ability. I think that with the way that he'll be able to throw this week as well as just that rushing baseline, I think it's just going to be a way overall better week. We should see some of what we've seen Daniel Jones do in the past. Definitely, I would say, I could see him being a top 12 quarterback this week for sure. Um, and not for nothing, but Brian Dable, I don't think is going to let 2 weeks of the same type of stuff go on. So, smart coaching over there. It's a whole different week. It's fine to play Daniel Jones. Put him in your lineup.
Gonna break out the Pepto for Daniel Jones and the Giants this week for me, but we'll see. I
I
don't
mean,
have one.
if Sam Howell can put up 20 points against the Arizona Cardinals, Daniel Jones can probably put up 20 points against the Arizona Cardinals.
Very true. Very, very true. All right. So for mine, I'm not bringing that much spice, so I apologize in advance. But my hero of the week is going to be Mr. DK Metcalf going against the Detroit Lions. I'm kind of throwing out week one for the Seahawks. The Rams just shook them down, took their lunch money and the deed to their house, and just said, you know what, this is my game. It was weird. I don't understand what happened, but looking at it here, DK Metcalf was the lone bright spot. He only took in, you know, 3 targets, but it was he had 47 yards and a score. So didn't kill you, but didn't do what you were hoping for. He has the touchdown upside every week because he's just a monster in the red zone, an excellent target. Last year he had 24, no, I think it was 24, 28 red zone targets and converted like only a couple of them. Uh, Starting off right now, he's starting off where he left off, picking up these touchdowns in the red zone. So going up against the 1-0 Detroit Lions, I'm all in for this game. So this could end up being a really high scoring game. Last year, this was, I don't know if you guys remember this game, but this was an absolute barn burner where the number one quarterback on the week was Geno Smith and the number two was Jared Goff. They each had like 30 something points, and it was wild. That could happen again. And I think there's a high probability of both of these teams. The Lions want to show that they mean business, and the Seahawks want to prove that last week was a fluke. So Pete Carroll is going to make sure they right the ship this week, and DK is going to be a major part of that. So I'm firing him up everywhere I can. So who is your second hero of the week, Joe?
My second, it's going to be Luke Musgrave, tight end on Green Bay. We saw week one that he was heavily evolved on the snap count. He looked pretty good. He did miss a couple routine catches. He also had that deep shot that he wasn't able to pull in. But I mean, we saw last week that Jordan Love looked pretty good against the Bears, and I think it's just gonna be another week. They're going against Atlanta the week too. I mean, Atlanta we've seen in the past 28-3, for example. They are not a very good defense, and I think Luke Musgrave is going to be a underrated tight end for week, especially for week two against Atlanta. You could probably get him off waivers, or people are sleeping on him. Pick him up, plug him in your either flex or your tight end spot, and I think you'll be pretty happy.
I like it.
So as someone that has him and also Jake Ferguson, which way would you go?
I'd go Luke Musgrave. Jake
I like
Jake
that.
scares me a little bit.
You're
You
obviously
don't
asking
think,
for a friend because we
I
don't know that
mean,
at all.
right, right. Just my friend wants to know. Anyway, I like
Who's
Luke Musgrave though.
He looked good.
Who? Yeah. Who's my next hero, you ask? None other than
you?
Hunter Henry, versing against the Miami Dolphins this week. And I don't know if you're familiar, but he is currently the tight end one on the season. That's right, on the season. Last week, 5 receptions off of 6 targets for 56 yards and a score. Him and Mac Jones clearly have something going on here. It's good chemistry. It seems that we've seen, he likes to find his big body tight ends. Hunter Henry likes to catch touchdowns. He likes to be heavily involved. So yeah, I mean it's encouraging to see. The Dolphins, they don't scare me. They were actually top three in points allowed to tight ends last year. They allowed the second most touchdowns to the position. Um, and I mean, just looking at really last week's game with the Chargers versus the Dolphins too, only the tight end was actually able to score. All the other receiving options had no touchdowns on the day. It was only Donald Farm to catch a touchdown uh, for the Chargers there. So Dolphins obviously just don't really care to defend the kind of position it looks like. So with that being said, I know that the Dolphins, on the other hand, are a fantastic team with one Tyreek Hill and one Jalen Waddle. Tua is playing great right now. So I imagine they're going to be in the lead. This is a divisional game. So I'm pretty sure Jones is going to have to throw himself a lot or throw a lot in this one just to keep up. And with that, I think we're going to see good things from Hunter Henry this week.
I may be pivoting to him in a league, so I hope you're right because otherwise it's tough out there.
You're
So
welcome ahead of time.
yes, taking the credit now before anything happens. That's good. Alrighty, so you can make sure if it doesn't work out, this man right here. That's who you go to. But mine here, this one is something that I was very surprised at after week one. But Anthony Richardson versus the Houston Texans is going to be my hero of the week. Really surprising his first week as a NFL quarterback, but made his debut and had a pretty productive day. He finished as the QB4 on the week, and he was surprisingly accurate. That was one of the biggest things that was a knock against him. Everyone said he wasn't an accurate quarterback. Well, looking at his adjusted completion percentage, it was a 75.8% completion rate. That's pretty good. Only one interception, added 10 rushes for 40 yards and a score just to pad those stats. But I was really impressed, and I liked what I saw in the passing game as well from him. So this week, he's got an inexperienced Houston Texans defense to play with. And I said it in the last show. I think Richardson is a 100% must start fantasy quarterback. So lock it in. I'm ready for it. He's going to smash. Alrighty. Now let's get a little negative again. But hey, it's part of fantasy. Some guys are good. Some guys need to be sat down a little bit. So Joe, who is your first zero for this week?
My first zero is going to be Zach Wilson. He is now the starter for the Jets, as Salah has said. Zach Wilson is our quarterback. Well, if my quarterback played the entire game, because Aaron Rodgers took three plays from him, 4 plays from him. If my quarterback played the entire game and put up 10 fantasy points, I'd be very displeased. And that was against Buffalo. Now he's going against Dallas, who shut the Giants out, shut Daniel Jones out. What do you think they're going to do to Zach Wilson? I don't think he breaks 10 points, and I would not be playing him in any leagues that I had the option of anyone else. I'd start Sam Howell over him. So
I think I would too. I want to ask you this because I asked Rich last night's episode. Dallas Cowboys defense, are
scary.
they the best pick in fantasy?
For
I
that,
know
for week one,
you
for
felt
week
them
one,
firsthand.
week one they were, and probably for week two they are as well. But I mean, if we're looking at defense, I mean, the Eagles defense looks very good. The 49ers showed us that why they are one of the best defenses in the league. So there's other defenses that are good. I just think that it was the weather, it was the Giants being the Giants, and I don't think the Dallas Cowboys defense is going to put up that 36 points again. But they're this week, I think it's going to be pretty close. So
I was gonna say they're probably gonna put up 40 this week just because hey, hold
maybe
my beer, let me go.
not if Brees
All
Hall
right,
has anything to say about it.
yeah, hopefully he looked good. All right, Rich, zero number one for you. Who we got?
So my first zero is Drake London. Um, Drake London is going against the Green Bay Packers this week, and it's very tough and very sad thing to talk about Drake London because I just feel like he has such potential. Uh, I think it's more along the lines of just like a Kyle Pitts thing, where it's just he's in the wrong type of system for what he can do. So despite playing 90% of snaps, I mean, he had a 5% target share, and it's just not something that you generally want to see from a player that you can consider a wide receiver one for a team. It seems to me like this is just a very run heavy team, and obviously it's not really going to play well in the wide receivers court if it's very, very run heavy like that. That being said, this week going against the Green Bay Packers, again, just not a good matchup. Jair Alexander, I imagine, is going to be shadowing him for most of the day, if not the entire day. So hard for me to really have any faith, especially after what I just saw, to have any faith right now to play him. So for now, um, yeah, Drake London for me is just more of a sit, put him on your bench, look at him with little like frown face every now and then carry on.
Join
It's
the
really
Kyle Pitts
sad.
fan club.
Well, I'm gonna go in here with my first zero then, piggybacking off of that, and well said on Drake London with the sad face and tears. Kyle Pitts is going to be my zero of the week. I am not touching this wide receiver, tight end, receiving room with a 10-foot pole. They don't throw nearly enough to make it work. I don't care about the target share. You could say that someone had a 50% target share in this offense. That could mean 3 targets. That's it. It ain't fun. So with Kyle Pitts, I'm not touching him. I don't care. I want to watch it. I want to see what happens first. He could blow up this week, and it will not change my decision on, oh man, I wish I played Kyle Pitts, because then the next week I'm going to be trapped into starting him, and I'm going to be disappointed just like I was in week 1. They are going to run the ball down your throat even when they're down. Arthur Smith does not care. He had one deep ball last week, and he looked great doing it, but he just isn't in the plans with this offense. And it's a shame, because if they could just use him how we all hope and see the potential for, he could be the best tight end of the league. But until that happens, I am done. I don't care. This will be the last time I tell you not to start Kyle Pitts, because you should just never do it. Are we all in agreement there for this season? Dynasty is different, but in redraft, I don't care.
Yeah, he's one of
Until
my favorite bench warmers.
until I see Taylor Heineke come in, I think we can expect better days with Taylor Heineke, because if you remember when he was playing for the Commanders, he did support Terry McLaurin for a couple weeks there. So Taylor Heineke can throw, or can find receivers in somewhat of a better fashion. Um, but yeah, until further notice, no Falcon pass catchers.
Yeah, Heineke just throws YOLO balls and doesn't care the repercussions, because
Yeah.
he's like, yeah,
Um,
I'm here to play. So
it's
I'm going to
I'll
get
take
benched
a
doesn't matter.
YOLO ball over no ball. Oh, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Oh man, it's so sad. So sad. But let's keep the sadness rolling, Joe. Zero number 2. Who we got?
So this one is a very controversial pick for the show. It's going to make one of you very happy, one of you very sad, because you guys did a trade together for him. It's Christian Kirk. He is my zero. Um, this is a person that we're like, oh well now Ridley's there. He'll be the wide receiver 2. He'll still be good. He saw less than a 75% snap count. He was Whereas Zay Jones saw an 89% snap count and 7 targets. Kirk only saw 3 targets and only had 1 catch. Ridley was the player that everyone projected him to be this year. He looked explosive and dynamic, and Zay Jones looked good. He was the number 2 right behind him, and that kind of left Kirk to the wayside. And even Evan Ingram looked better than Kirk in week 1. I don't think it's a fluke. I think it's an ongoing trend that it's Ridley and Zay Jones as the top 2, with Kirk as a wide receiver 3. And for all the people that had him as their wide receiver 1s, or were hoping he was going to be wide receiver 2, or I'm sorry that you paid the piper for a bust right now. So I would not be playing him. I mean, he just against Indy put up 1 catch, which is arguably way worse defense than Kansas City. So
Yeah, that one kind of hurts, but you know,
doesn't hurt you, but
not anymore.
hurts
But
Richie
yeah,
more than you.
yeah.
It's funny.
Just for the listeners, Richie traded for Pollard, Christian Kirk, and Tannehill from Matt for Gabe Davis, Antonio Gibson, who was also someone else's zero, a first and a second. So, well, I guess that's a good segue.
Yeah. Rich, yo, set you
As
up,
I
knock it out of the park. Let's go. Who you got?
You guys traded zeros.
So my second zero is Antonio Gibson versus the Denver Broncos this week. And yeah, just a lot of different concerns there. I mean, last week he outsnapped by Brian Robinson, 35% to 61%. So quite a jump there. Brian Robinson looks way better as a running back than Antonio Gibson. We saw Antonio Gibson come in at the second quarter, fumble the ball, and basically not play until about the fourth quarter. where at that point he just got a little bit more involved, but still not very encouraging to see your running back not play for quite some time. Also, in the midst of that, we did see the sixth round rookie come in and also take some snaps away before Antonio Gibson was allowed back on the field. So all these things are just kind of concerns to me. At the same time, Denver is not a joke as far as defense goes. They did just shut down Josh Jacobs to under 10 points. So I really don't think that Gibson's going to have any sort of day, and I really do have some concerns about Robinson as well as the Denver defense. I have some questions for.
Yeah, when I said I want to pay attention to the snap share and how they do, probably gonna need another week because this defense is gonna really put a schlacking on them. So we'll see what happens. But
We had this argument in one of the previous shows, Matt, where I was Team Brian Robinson, you were Team Gibson, and just want to say, look where we are.
oh, it's looking good for you. But hey, it's only week one. I we all do this too. We always week one happens and we take victory laps, and then like we're like, yeah, no, we'll wait. Let's see what happens. But that's part of the game. But it's fun. We'll see. I still have hope. Antonio Gibson, please, please, for the love of God,
Remember
please
when
help me.
Remember Sammy Watkins coming out with like 3 touchdowns in week
Oh
one and
boy,
then just
yeah.
never doing it again for the rest of the season?
Yeah. Yeah, that was wild. People were going crazy that year. There was like, "Oh, you gotta get him, you gotta get him," and then he just did nothing. And it was like,
The
why
lizard
did I
man.
do that? This that exact thing. That is why we can't have nice things in fantasy because they lie to us. All right, back to the negative Nancy hat. Dak Prescott is going to be my zero of the week. We watched the Dallas Cowboys defense, who is no joke, just put a giant whipping of the New York Giants, and they get the Jets this week, who are now without Aaron Rodgers. As Joe said, his zero of the week is Zach Wilson. Part of the reason is because his defense is going to eat him alive. And part of that, what we saw happen in the past game, is they don't got to throw the ball because the defense scored twice and they could score 3 times this week. It's going to be rough. The Jets are not going to be able to move the ball against this defense unless some crazy miracle happens. And Dak, unfortunately, is going to be the one who does not, who this basically hurts the most. Running back should still be fine because they're just going to run out the clock, but it's rough because Dak, you probably drafted him to be a starter, but who knows? If he's not, I would definitely try to go away from him this week because it could get ugly quick. This game could be over by halftime if we really sit and look at it. I know the New York Jets defense is also no slouch. They just beat up on the Bills too. So between those two things, I don't see the upside. His ceiling is basically nothing. And in this game, I don't think he has any floor whatsoever. So it's going to not be a wonderful game. So I would definitely try to sit this man. Do you guys think anything other than that for Dak? Are you concerned about his long term outlook for this season with that defense being that good?
Maybe this week I agree with you because it's against the Jets. I think they might be able to get ahead early, and you might not see Dak throwing as much. They might be kind of running the clock out, but yeah, their defense looks really good. Granted, it was in the rain against the Giants. Now they're playing the Jets with Zach Wilson. I'd I wouldn't count them out quite yet. I'd wait to see them play maybe a little. I hate to say it, a better team and better conditions, and then make a judgment.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. It's tough to
Yeah,
make
I'm
a
just a little
call.
nervous. But all right, we got some fun defensive streamers to take a look at this week. So the number one I feel like is probably the Giants. It kind of doesn't taste good coming out of my mouth because of what just happened, but the Giants are going up against Arizona. They did not do that well. Arizona is not going to be able to move the ball most likely, and I do think the Giants defense is decent. So I think they're going to be able to force a couple turnovers, some sacks. I don't think this is going to be a particularly high scoring game either. So that could help the baseline. Do you guys agree with that they're the top defense, or to read off some of the other names and give me the order?
I mean, like, I don't know if I would say the top, but I like the matchup. I mean, Isaiah Simmons being traded over to us before the season started is a good reason to like it. I mean, hopefully he gets to tee off on his old team, and we actually get some good play out of him.
Revenge
Maybe just
game.
a couple more sacks, a little more revenge game-ish. But I don't know. I think out of the whole list there, I'll let you tee up before I tell you which one's my favorite.
All right, so we'll just run through the list. So we got Giants at Arizona, Denver versus Washington, the Browns versus the Steelers. Then we got the Miami Dolphins versus the New England Patriots, and Indy versus Houston. So the two I like the most are the Giants and probably Cleveland. Those I think would be my order. What about you guys?
No, to put it in perspective, in my survival pool, I picked the Giants this week because although Dobbs didn't look too bad, I do think the Giants win that game. So
I think it's.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's gonna be close. I don't think it's gonna be high
I was
scoring,
gonna
but I don't
say,
think the Giants are gonna do too much.
yeah, I agree with you there. I was gonna say Denver. I like the Denver matchup. As I just said, the Denver defense I do like. So yeah, I think it's kind of them I'd put first. Giants kind of like right underneath there, like a 1A, 1B. Cleveland, maybe. I think Pittsburgh is going to do a little better than what we think.
They could. It's gonna be a wait and see with the injury to Deontay Johnson, and is everyone else gonna step up? And there's a lot of things going on. But I think we did it. We're good. Week 2. Heroes and Zeros are done. We're ready to go.
Ooh.
Thursday night football should be a fun game. We got the Eagles and the Vikings. I am going against Justin Jefferson in multiple leagues, so it pretty much guarantees him a touchdown because that's how fantasy works in the way I do it. Go against them; they have great games, so we'll see how it goes. But all right, that's gonna wrap things up for us. Enjoy week 2. If you have any questions, please check out our website. Send us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can go to YouTube at youtube.com/@theheroesff. Check out those. Like, share, subscribe. As always, enjoy the football while we have it because it's going to go away before we know it. It's all fun. Enjoy. I will talk to everyone else later. So long, everyone.
Later, Gators.
Thank you again for tuning in to another episode of the Heroes of Fantasy Football podcast. Follow us on Twitter at TheHeroesFF.